We are down to our last two shapes, ladies and gentlemen. So, we're going to be talking about rhombi and squares today because they are very similar. So, starting with rhombi, they have all these properties that parallelograms have, right? Opposite sides are congruent, opposite sides are parallel, opposite angles are congruent, consecutive angles are supplementary. Remember, supplementary means 180 degrees, and diagonals bisect each other. In the case of rhombi, not only are opposite sides congruent, but all four sides are congruent. Diagonals are also perpendicular. Remember, perpendicular is the upside down T. And being perpendicular, that means they make 90-degree angles. Okay. And they also, diagonals, also bisect opposite angles. I'm just going to use a symbol, opposite angles. Okay, so now that we have all these properties, now we are now going to use them. In number 1, it says JK is 12 and JN is 7. And I want you to remember that in the second property we filled in that we have a 90-degree angle there, okay? So if I know JK is 12, that means KL is also 12, ML is 12, and JM is 12. Diagonals bisect each other, so I know that this bottom half of that line is also 7. Now they want to know these sides here, so let's start filling in what we know. They want to know JM, which we filled in as 12. They want to know JL, which we can figure out because we know each half is 7, so JL would be 14 altogether. They want to know MN. We do not know MN yet, but we do know we have 90-degree angles everywhere, and that means I have a right triangle right there. Remember, the side that is opposite my right angle is my C, so in this case I will have 7 squared plus B squared equals 12 squared. With that being said, 7 times 7 is 49, B squared stays B squared, and this becomes 144. When I get rid of 49 from both sides, B squared equals 95. And the square root of 95 is about 9.7. So MN is 9.7. I'm going to go ahead and erase this triangle now. And I'm going to fill in the 9.7 here. Remember, if MN is 9.7 and K is also 9.7, the two halves are the same. And the last question is, what is MK? Well, we know M to N is 9.7, N to K is 9.7, so altogether that line is 19.4. Okay. Number 2 is very similar to number 1, so I'm going to leave that for you to do. And same with number 3. I'm going to move over to number 4 because now we're going to talk about angles. Okay, so things we can start filling in immediately. We know that opposite angles are congruent, and we also know that angles get bisected. I have this angle of 38 right there, so I know if that is 38, right above it is 38, and I know the angles directly across, so 4 and 5 are also 38. So I'm just going to fill those in. Angle 8 we know because we know that all of these angles are right angles right there. So I know angle 8 is 90. Angles 1, 2, and 7 and 6 are opposite angles that are getting bisected, so we know they're all going to be the same measure. We just need to figure out what it is. Again, though, we have triangles, right? Boom, right here I have a triangle with 2 angles in it. And I know a triangle always adds up to 180, so what I can first do is add 90 and 38. And I get 128. Then I go to my calculator and I do 180 minus 128. Let's see what we get. It is 22. I'm going to go ahead and erase that. So if angle 6 is 20, as I write 6, is 22, that means angle 7 is 22, angle 2 is 22, and angle 1 is 22. So now I'm just going to start filling in. Angle 3 was 38. Angle 4 was 38. Angle 5, where's angle 5? And I lost track where angle 6 is, so pardon me, I'm just going to start moving things around. Okay, there it is. Angle 7, and angle 8 is 90. With that being said, I'm also going to leave you number 5 to do. Number 5 is a combination of both sides and angles, so don't forget we have 90-degree angles all over in the middle, so please do not forget that. ZY is 34. I'm just going to start labeling it. WY, the whole diagonal is 38. So if I know the whole diagonal is 38, I can divide that by 2 and know each half, which is 19 and 19. And Z, X, Y. This angle right in here is 34 degrees. So use your properties of rhombi to figure out all the missing sides, and then triangle properties to figure out the missing angles on this one. Go ahead and pause here and finish up rhombi before moving on to squares. Okay. For squares, they have just all these properties, so you just need to look them over. Remember, all these properties are also on the word window if you ever need to look. So with squares, the nice part is, in all summary, we have a lot of things that are congruent, and we have a lot of right angles, and a lot of things getting cut perfectly in half. So with that being said, we're just going to dive on in. I have a square, and I have 80 is 11. They want me to fill in every missing side, every missing angle. We can totally do this. For starters, I know every outside is 11. Then I know I have a right triangle here because every hard corner is a 90-degree angle. In this case, I do not have my C, so it's just 11 squared plus 11 squared equals C squared. So I should get 121 plus 121 equals C squared. So that's 242 equals C squared. And remember, it's not divided by 2. It is the square root, okay? Very important that we remember that. Square root of 242 is rounding to 15.6. So I'm going to go ahead and erase that now. If that whole diagonal is 15.6, that means each small guy, half of that is about 7.8. So I'm going to fill in my 7.8s. Oh, it doesn't want me through this. Okay. And every missing angle is either going to be a 90 or a 45 because it's got perfectly in half, so we just have to trace to see what they want us to find. So now let's start filling in our answers over here. BC in our picture says 11. AC is that whole diagonal, so it's the 15.6. BD is the whole diagonal, so it's 15.6. And EC is a half of the diagonal, which is 7.8. Okay, I'm going to change colors, dramatically green. DAB, so remember, you just trace D to A to B. It's the whole angle, and you can even see that just made a 90-degree. Next is AEB, A to E to B. Again, I made a perfect 90 there again. CBD, C to B to D. Notice this time I'm not making that whole angle, so that means it has to be a 45. I love squares. Makes things so much easier. BAC, B to A to C. Again, it's not all of angle A, so that is another 45. When dealing with squares, you've got two answer options. It's either going to be 90 or it's either going to be 45-degree angles. So just pay attention to what they're asking for, okay? Let's do an algebra one. Ooh, I like algebra. Okay, let's look at number 10. SW is 2x plus 13. WU is 8x minus 41. And just so we know which ones we're talking about, it's this line and that line there, okay? So we know with squares, everything's equal to each other. I love it. 2x plus 13 equals 8x minus 41. Move our 2x over. Last step is always to divide with what number is in front of x. In this case, it looks like we have a 6. So divide by 6, divided by 6, x equals 9. But it says find VT. Notice VT is the whole thing. So what we do, we plug into one of the halves and just multiply by 2. So I'll use the 2x plus 13. Instead of x, it's 9. 2 times 9 is 18, plus 13 still, which what is 31. But that's half the line, so multiply that by 2 to get the whole line, and that is 62. So please pay attention to what they're asking for. In this case, they did not want a half, they wanted that whole line. I'll even trace it, okay? I want to leave a lot of this stuff for you guys to practice because squares are super simple, equaling to each other. Same with rhombi, a lot of equaling to each other, so these are not scary. These got bisected, so those are equal to each other. Rhombi, all sides are the same measure, so those are also equal to, these two sides are also equal to each other. So go ahead, and in this case, you're just practicing your algebra skills, keeping them sharp. Sometimes it says solve for x, like in number 11. Other times it says to plug it back in, so please make sure you're reading the directions and doing what they ask. Go ahead and practice this. I think you guys got this. I left what I thought was the easiest concept for last to end on a good note. Call me over if you have any questions. After this video, your entire packet should be complete, and that means we'll be getting ready for a test review at next class.